I'm 19 years old in my very first year of university, and I'm dropping out with a grade point average of 4.33. I've chosen to do this because I want to have a family and I want to provide for them. As a man, I need to be both present and financially stable if I want a family. University makes both of these things impossible. As I'm incredibly far from my hometown, I cannot be present, and residence costs $20,000 alone, and so I'm not financially stable either. Not to mention, as a photography major, my career that I've chosen is not very well known for being financially stable, as most photographers need to purchase tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and they need to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. So I've dropped out because a family, which is what I want, would require financial stability and presence. University has none of that. It's taken me 5 years of hard work and a lot of failure to get to this point. In high school, I had an average of 34% in grade 10. I'm not even joking, I would fail multiple tests back to back to back, and it was incredibly embarrassing. It left me with a lot of depression and even suicidal thoughts. But it was in this frustrating point in my life that I was able to work hard, and with 5 years of work, I ended with a 95% average. Not to mention, it was in the IB program where I did my full diploma, writing all of my exams, and achieving the valedictorian. But in that moment of my life, I learned how to truly work hard. I learned how to study. I learned how to actually work hard. And I learned how to overcome anything. And so, for a matter of fact, I'm incredibly confident in the decision I've just made to drop out, even though it might come off as incredibly controversial. Given my experience in school, I've decided that this is a strategic decision to achieve my success in life, of which is biblically inspired. I believe that success is found within love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, all of which can be found within the pursuit of something good. While good grades can give you peace, as you would be on top of everything, or joy, as it's always great to get an overwhelmingly positive grade on an assignment, the truth is that the joy and the peace that you get will always be temporary. You will always have another test or another project to work on until you graduate. And when you do graduate, what good are the grades that you've gotten when everything comes down to work experience, as now you're looking for a job? That's why schools have co-ops and internships, and yet they never rely on your grade point average. Moreover, grades depend on what other people think of you. They depend on how your English teacher is feeling about you when she reads your paper. They depend on your cohorts when they mark your progress in a group presentation. All of it depends on how other people think of the amount of work that you've put into yourself. And that's rather frustrating when it becomes everything you care about. And so the desire of good grades makes it impossible to achieve success. Instead of going to university, I'm spending my time building a business. And that takes a lot of time, prioritization, and skill building. Firstly, I had to learn I could work hard. I had to learn that I can consistently go to the gym, consistently go to church, consistently read a book, consistently study, consistently push myself every single day. Then I had to learn that I could work smart. So instead of just consistently doing the same thing again and again, I can consistently improve upon it. And then a linear event becomes exponential, and that is when you begin to snowball. This can all be summarized in the 80-20 rule. The idea that 80% of your work commits to 20% of the results, but 20% of your work commits to 80% of the results. And so we need to find the 20%, that little bit that you can do that commits to everything else in life. For example, getting out of bed is effortless, and yet it commits to the rest of your day, and so many people take getting out of bed, or even just waking up by the grace of God, completely for granted. Yet on the other hand, scrolling on your phone as another extreme is useless and could easily be compiled as one of the 80% things that we do that completely drive us to nothing. And so all in all, I'm focusing on building long-term valuable skills so that way with my business not only works now, giving me immediate income, but it's able to work within the next year, the next 2 years, 10 years, and even within the next generation. Because why would I want to spend all my time building something that either doesn't work now and only works in the future, or doesn't work in the future and only works now? Because I'm not attending school, I need a proven system because my future life is at risk. The truth is, I'm likely to fail. In fact, I count on it because I'm a strong believer that if you were to take every single self-made millionaire and put them all in a room together, you'd have a room full of failures. The same way that if you were to take every single gym bro and put them in a room together, you'd have a room full of failures. Because what they have in common is the fact that both gym bros and entrepreneurs are both training until failure. And this is where the real problem comes in. Not failure, but failing and then giving up. Because if I give up, or if I'm forced to give up, then I have to return to school and spend even more money trying to get a degree I don't even like, or pursuing something that I have no interest in. while always knowing I could have done more in my life. And so, not only I would waste money, but I would waste years and years of my life falling behind all of my friends and living up to always being a failure and nothing more. Because when you look at bodybuilders, you don't see failure, you see a strong body. When you look at millionaires, you don't see failure, you see millions of dollars. It's only at the people who gave up do you ever see a failure, even though they've always been the same from the very beginning. Even though I've been complaining a lot about grades, they have two main purposes to serve you. The first being that if you fail, you learn how to learn. I had a lot of learning difficulties. I wouldn't say disabilities, but certainly difficulties growing up. And so if it wasn't for school, if it wasn't for failing, I would have never learned how to overcome them. Not to say it wasn't also for friends and even amazing teachers who helped me time and time again become the man that I am today. Secondly, grades also help with scholarships, as awards and bursaries love seeing people who work hard and getting good grades, especially institutions like universities and colleges, because good grades equals a student who can suck up and play into the system, which is exactly what they want. Good grades equals a student willing to pay money, and that's so much so of a factor that universities are even willing to give money out to some of the students, knowing that they're willing to stay for a long time, eventually making the institution more money in the end. Because after all, it is a business. It's an educational business. So here's everything that I need to go completely right in order for me to succeed and get my family. Firstly, I need a proven system to achieve the financial stability I was talking about before. My business involves getting young entrepreneurs their very first few clients and understanding how to build a long-term, goal-oriented, value-based business. And so I need to help people actually achieve a tangible goal and get their first few clients. If you check out the link in the description, you'll actually see all about it, and we can even book up a call and talk more if you're interested. The second thing I need is a following, as a following is going to give me enough support to test things reliably. This shows that I can scale long-term and succeed now. Outside of working on my business, I'm still going to attend the gym, I'm still going to be attending church, and I'm going to be doing everything in my power to become a good, godly man for a godly woman. Lord knows she's somewhere out there, and I just have to be a little bit more patient, as embarrassing as that is to say. Now, some people are going to think when you start a business, you should drop out of your 9-to-5 job as well. But the truth is, you need a job, especially if you're running a business. We need a 9-to-5 to invest into ourselves. And when I say invest into myself, I don't mean buying a pedicure or doing something stupid. I mean spending money on a ChatGPT account, spending money on a Calendly service, spending money on some sort of monthly recurring payment, spending money on a book, spending money on a course, you name it. Investing into yourself, especially within the realm of entrepreneurship, looks like buying things that move you closer to your goals, and that costs money. And so you need to use your two 5 to 9s you have, the 5 to 9 in the morning and the 5 to 9 when you get home, to actually build something worthwhile instead of just complaining about your job and leaving. I would only quit my job only if I'm able to make more money for my business and it shows proof that I can grow. Otherwise, I'm going to work as much as possible to build as much income as possible so I can leverage that income to invest into myself and increase the likelihood of my overall success. In the pursuit of my success, I found the main reason why people live mediocre lives. My parents, likely your parents, and almost anyone else we know. The truth is, people don't think things are possible because people hate success. People hate the idea that they could one day get into the NBA. People hate the idea that they could one day land on Mars. The truth is, if you wanted to, you could make it to the NBA. You could be the first person to land on Mars within this generation. It's more likely than you actually think. If you wake up every day wanting to do it, not even with an insanely high drive, but just the desire to do it, then I guarantee you, you can do it. So the largest reason why people never do anything with their life is because they don't think they can do anything with their life. They think it's impossible. Oh, there's no way I could land on Mars. There's no way I can make it to the NBA. Well, there certainly is no way if you think like that. And so you need to stop thinking nothing is possible, because the truth is literally anything is possible. And even if you don't succeed, I've always believed that you should reach for the stars, and if you can't grab any, at least you'll get a handful of the clouds. If you don't make it to the NBA, you're still going to be athletic. If you don't land on Mars, they might send you to the moon to collect samples because you're just an astronaut at the end of the day. Those are amazing things, and even if you're not the world's first or the best of the best, you are still so much ahead of everyone else, and you're truly living what I would call a fulfilling and successful life. Taking everything into consideration, it's interesting to learn about the confidence that university students have. Think about it. Every university student is worried about what job they're going to get when they graduate. not if they get their diploma. And yet for entrepreneurship, they're worried about if they're going to make money, not what they do when they spend their money. And so how will I make my money in the future? Well, I want to focus on long-term growth. Firstly, I'm going to add guarantees, guaranteeing the people I work with will get their first clients within 1 week or achieve a certain amount of income. For example, I can guarantee you if I work with you for 2 months, you'll make $10,000 a month. That would be an amazing program, and I'm sure you'd bet a lot of money in order to participate in it. Afterwards, I can move on to professional consulting for established businesses, get paid more for it, and then get paid millions for business investment. That's where the big money's made. And all throughout this journey, I can create small products, communities, donations, courses, books, etc. I can do all of these things, but all of these things and dropping out comes with a psychological toll. I've fought with my family a lot. I've argued with my family, and I've yelled with them even to come out to this school, to get this program, to lose all the education that I've procured over my life, to go for a photography degree, and then to drop out of it. Simply put, it has not been a fun journey. Moreover, I've lost friends. In fact, I've lost probably every friend I've ever made in my entire life. That's not a really fun thing to say if you think about it, but it was what was necessary in order to make me the man I am today. And so I'm grateful for it as much as I am grieved from the loss. But taking all of that, it leaves me with a lot of doubt and a lot of fear. But that fear isn't necessary to be successful. You don't need to lose your friends or your family to become a successful entrepreneur, and I pray you don't. It's not fun to lose your friends, it's not fun to lose your family, and you don't need to go through all this loss to become a successful individual. That is the opposite of success. However, you do need to lose things in order to become hungry for something else. And so these are the key takeaways of everything I've discussed. Firstly, you need to work in the right areas to succeed. You need to build high-value skills that work for now and the future, and using your time properly to build future-proof decisions. Secondly, you need to use your grades as a safety net. You need to invest into the right educational systems and actually work a job. If not full-time, take up part-time jobs and optimize your time and skills whenever you can. In the next video, I want to talk about how I actually help people in my business instead of just LARPing, because it seems to be a big thing people do nowadays. I'll go into details about what I do to help people and how it actually works, as well as the problem I'm facing with how other people LARP with their businesses, or in other words, pretend to be successful to become successful. Otherwise, expect me to continue uploading weekly, giving valued advice, real updates, and my experienced opinions on how to build a successful business in 2026. If you want to learn how to build a successful business in 2026 and get your first few clients in about 3 weeks, then feel free to check out the link in the description. I'm willing to do everything completely for free, and I mean that completely free, but only for the next 3 people who participate in this program, because I can only run 5 people right now and I already have 2 people I'm working with. And so if that sounds interesting, feel free to book a call with me whenever you want in the link in the description. Also be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you can be sure to see the next few videos, because I can guarantee the next few videos are going to be packed with value and real world advice.